In today's video, I'm going to sharpen this entire collection for a gentleman who's bought all his old dad's knives in, some of his son's knives in, and some of his favorite knives in. So we've got a collection of butcher knives, skinning sort of knives. This is very old. It's got some patina, but it was sanded down. An old kangaroo, don't know what that is, made from by Toledo, 440C. Nice, beautiful handle. Some Chinese collections, and also a Buck 119. Nice. No, they're not too bad. They're kind of sharp, but he wants them perfectly sharp, including this Buffalo River hunting knife. Very nice. I'll put a nice edge on that. So I'll be using my Tormek T8. I'll be using my Tormek T8, the other T8 for honing, my kangaroo strop for stropping, and that'll be it. I'll be using my Tormek T8 for grinding on the Blackstone. I'll be using my Tormek T8 for honing, and I'll be using my kangaroo tail strop there, and we should have a lot of fun. So this is going to be a long one. Some of you like the longer movies, others may want to skip ahead, but I will do my best to entertain you along the way, and we'll see how we go. So we'll start off with the first one. Before we go too far, I asked him if he wanted me to give this one a bit of a shine on the brass. So he said, yeah, sure, whatever. So I'm going to give it a polish on my polisher there. See how we go with that. How does that come up? A little bit more. I use the blue compound. So we went from that to that. It's not immaculate, but yeah, it's not too bad. Oh, finish that off. Give it a spritz of alcohol to get that compound off. Might touch the blade a little bit, see if we can't get that shinier. Using the side of the wheel to try and get into the logo area. See how that came out. A little bit better. I'm happy with that. So I'm using the KJ45 jig with my new version 3.0 Baz knife jig handle, which makes it much easier to control the knife. Gives you nice smooth bevels with a big thumb cup, available at my web shop, which is isharpen.shop. So it's got a long way to go, so I'm going to use this little trick. I've just finished dressing my stone. I've just finished preparing my honing wheel. I've oiled it and then re-waxed it after sanding it. Beautiful. So what angle am I going to put on most of these hunting knives? Well, it's got to be between 40 and 50 degrees. When I'm not sure, I'm going to start off at 50 degrees, see how that looks. And if it's a bit too tiny of a bevel, then I might increase it. But I'm going to try 50, and that's 50 against the primary bevel, not 50 against the center line. And I prefer to use the WM200, which works perfectly for me. I'm going to move that up to 25 degrees. I've already set the diameter of the wheel because I reground the wheel, and that's all centered now and beautiful. So that needs to come up a fair bit. Chili's out on the lawn, lying down, absorbing beautiful Adelaide day around about 23 degrees Celsius, which is definitely 8 degrees in Fahrenheit as well. Now, just triple check. If I ever lose my way what I'm doing, I always triple check, that's fine. So I've got this set to 80 grit. and we'll see how that comes out. And that looks quite nice. I'll show you in a minute. There's my bluey. Yeah, that looks perfect. It's not finished yet, but the grind looks correct. I'll show you what I mean. So this is as presented, kind of rounded off, and this is the Tormek. Now you can see some silvering at the top still, that's the old edge. But that doesn't look too steep or too narrow or anything, that looks perfect. I'm loving my new setup. It's just so freeing and really makes me want to come out here and do more work. I love coming out here. I used to love coming out here before, but it's even better now. Okay, I've got a burr there. It's a little bit weak near the tip. This one is made of, don't know, but it's made in Japan. It's a Jet Air Corp from Paterson, New Jersey design. I'll show you that label in a minute for those of you who are interested, and I know that there are a few of you watching who are really into this sort of stuff, the labels, the branding. I'm not that much of a nerd. Sorry, not a nerd, a geek. There's a difference. A geek is someone who's really into something, and a nerd is a, you know, nerd. It's got issues. Not that I don't have issues. I've got about 764 of them last count. But I've been tested and I'm okay for society. Okay, that's nice. I'm just going to finish it off with a nice 320. These plates are about to land, so if you want some, get your diamond grading plates from iSharpen.shop. They're currently on pre-order, but they landed in Adelaide on Thursday last week. Today's Tuesday. And so they'll be delivered any day now. And so all of you who are waiting for your orders, they'll be delivered or sent off this week for sure. Usually takes me about 2 or 3 weeks to get the orders to come in from China. And don't be put off by China. China can do good work if we ask them to. And these are the good ones that last a long time. How long is a long time? Well, I bought lots of them. And then I found the right manufacturer, and these actual plates have lasted me for at least 1.5, maybe even 2 Blackstone wheels. Now I go through a lot of knives. That's about 500 knives per wheel. So if you're just a casual home user, these will last you for a long time. I'll sell them in pairs. They're a little bit more expensive than the cheap ones you can get on eBay, but on eBay is where I started buying them, and some of them just disintegrated on the first touch. Others, I don't know why, and I don't know what they're made of. They sparkle like diamonds. I've seen that, but yeah, they're very good. Okay, this is looking good now. See, that's the beauty of Tormek, is you get a nice even bevel. And with this wide sombrero style thumb cup, there's a lot of space on here for it to rest on the toolbar. You can see the lines there where it's resting on the toolbar, so that keeps the nice straight bevel, and here you can see the results. All right, so that looks fantastic. Then I'll take that burr off, and I always polish the back of the burr first to weaken it where it grips onto the main metal, and then when I flip it over onto the burr side, it just comes off. And my first go is always very light and up high on the apex. I don't bother polishing the bevel because there's no point. I'll drag it on my nail to see if there's any catching bits, and there are. Those catching bits are little bits of burr still hanging on. It should be very smooth as you drag it lightly over your thumbnail. So I'm basically just letting gravity do the job. When I first started, I used to really push in and try and get it all super shiny, thinking that shine equaled sharp, but it doesn't. Sharp is all about the edge. Oh, did you hear that? That was a ka-ching from an order that came through. Somebody bought something on my shop. Thank you for your support, if that was you. In fact, let's see who it was. I won't put your name up, but I'll put your city. That order came in from Escanaba, Michigan, United States. And they've ordered a single baz knife sharpening jig and some diamond plates. So how good's that? You guys are awesome. Lots of orders are coming through. So if that was you, thank you. Now, just wipe that off. Now, I used to do all my stropping on at the front of the bench, but now I do it behind me because it's a nice height. So you can come and follow over here and watch me do this, and we'll test it. Whee! So, just lightly, make sure it's clean. On the suede side first, because that's the least abrasive. Because a lot of people don't know that kangaroo tail has actually got its own abrasives. You don't need any coatings or anything on here. It's called silicate. It's got a very high silicate compound. Sorry, not compound, content. Now, hunting knives at 40 and 50 degrees, this one's done at 50 degrees, they don't really react that well to the slicing of the tally-ho, so that's a bit of an unfair sort of a test. So I think that this is probably good enough. Nice. But just out of curiosity, let's have a look and see if it does perform. It doesn't quite push, but it slices through. So that's good enough. Alright, so that's number one done. And this one is the Jet Air Corp. Jet Air from Paterson, New Jersey. Made in Japan. G96 brand number 5000. She's a beauty. Nice dark wood there. I don't know what my woods are, but that one's done. First I'll give it a spritz. Bit of alcohol. Clean it up. Beautiful. Nice. Very happy with that. So we'll put that away. Looks nice. Shine that up, you'll be happy with that. Alright, so let's put that one aside. And let's do something weird. Let's do the kangaroo. This one's kangaroo, made by Toledo, 440C. Now it's got a curve on it, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how I do that. This one I won't polish, I'll just leave it as it is. So come over to the machine. That was another order. How good's that? Where did that one come from? That one came from Ames in Iowa. Another knife handle, one of these, and some diamond grit sharpening plates, or grading plates. Excellent. Wise choice. Ka-ching! Shopify gives you a ka-ching sound, which is most pleasing. It wakes me up with a smile sometimes. Now, so the thing with a curve, especially on a Tormek, is you've got to choose where you're going to measure your angle. And I'll tell you why. Because, let me illustrate a point to you. So, when you're sharpening a knife, if you lay it on flat on the grinding wheel, obviously it's just going to grind the flat of the blade. That's no good. And if you raise it up to here, then it's on. Obviously it's going to cut at 90 degrees. We don't want that either. So between there and there are all the angles, right? So the problem with a curved knife is if you measure the angle down here, as we lift the knife, the tip is up here. So between there and there. Right, those are two different angles. We don't want that. Well, there's not much you can do to avoid it. So if I was to lay it flat across here and measure across here, then by the time we got to the tip, it would be way up here, right? Whole different angle. So what I do is I split the difference. I presume that the main cutting is going to be done right on the curve on the belly, and you calculate where is the main cutting going to be. And I rotate the knife so that I measure the angle right on the belly, and then as I come up here, it's a bit of a higher angle, and as I come up to the tip, it's a bit of a higher angle, but because I've rotated it, it's not so bad here, not so bad there, but slightly different there. Right? So I balance out the differences in angle variation. So I'm going to, and the differences are what? What are the differences? So the differences are, if I measure here at 50, probably by the time I get to the tip, it's going to be maybe 60, right, and 60 there. But because the heel and the tip is often fatter, look how fat that tip is, right? The variation in the angle, it makes, it sort of evens out. Why is that? Well, if you imagine a square plank of wood, right? And you're cutting a 45 degree on that, right? And it's this, well, let's do a narrow one first, right? And it's this wide, little thin slice of wood, and you cut a 45° on there, the bevel's going to be that big. But if you do a fat piece of wood with the same angle at 45, well now look, that bevel's going to be that big. Same angle, big bevel, small bevel. So, as the knife gets fatter, even though the angle is increased, which would normally create a smaller bevel, because you're going into the fat of the knife, it becomes big and it kind of tends to even out. And even though the angles are different, the bevel stays the same size. So aesthetically, it looks good. And, you know, the tip and the heel, it doesn't really matter how sharp they are because they're very rarely used. All right, so I hope all of that made sense. Now, so I'm going to measure 50 again. So I have to raise that right up so that it's 50 right on the belly. And it'll be about 60 on the tip and the heel, I'm guessing. Well, let's have a look and see. So at the heel, oh, you know what? I've got hardly extra light there. And on the tip, I've got hardly any extra light there either. So it won't be that much difference, maybe 50, 55, you know, that sort of thing. So that should be okay. And let me just triple check because I've forgotten. Yep, that's 50. Still at 25 per side, yep. Let's see how it works out. Nice. And I'll come over and show you after I've done grinding this first side. So you can see that this is the 50, and look, this is higher, but it still looks kind of the same, and this is much higher, but it's still not too bad. In fact, it looks a bit wider up here. That's because the tip is so fat. All right. Look how fat that is. So that's more than acceptable. Would you agree? Got a nice burr on there. This side needs a bit more grinding. It's a little bit thin. Sometimes the water bubbles up on the edge. It's a bit hard to see, so I've got to wipe it off. Now also, this was previously ground by hand, so we're going to get variations in thickness, and that will also lead to a variation in bevel height. So they can't always be perfect after they've been hand sharpened, but the edge will still be there. Now I've already achieved a burr, so now I'm grinding for looks and appearance. For looks and appearance now, to make sure it looks even and beautiful. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. Got a good strong burr. A little bit tricky with the knobs. I'll take these off. Give me a bit more clearance. Still a bit crumbly there. A bit more grain on. Still quite burry. Might not be tilting it up enough to get to the edge or the apex. Still not good. That's a bit suspect to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep grinding it. It could be that the edge just needs a little bit more refinement. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on the 320 with a good hard press. This is one of the reasons why I always keep it attached, in case after this test I still don't get the feeling that I want. I'll come back and give it a regrind, not have to adjust anything. Definitely feels like a good burr everywhere. Just give it another pass. Very rarely does that ever happen. So you're here for a very rare occurrence. The burr is on the back, so now the burr is on the top. I can tell by the wax pattern if I'm hitting the edge, the apex, or what's happening. Okay, I've got some good bits and some grippy bits. Now we're getting there. Now we're getting there. Now I'm icy smooth all the way to the top. Perfect. That was weird, wasn't it? Okay. I'll give you a look at that. See, that bevel looks pretty even all the way through, doesn't it? Even though we know we've got varying angles, the thickness variation worked in our favour. You can see that little silvery line right on the apex. That's the polishing of the compound. Nice. Whee! Sharpening is a very peaceful life. It's a beautiful day outside, blue skies. Might go for a ride later on. If I can get my idle mixtures worked out. God damn it. Alright, let's have a look. Definitely sharp on the magazine. See if we can get anything out of this. And again, remember, I'm not expecting it to slice such thin tally-ho paper. but it is. Not push cutting, but it's slice cutting. Not bad. Happy with that. Put that one away. Let's have a look what's next. Let's do the Excalibur. 440A stainless. That's interesting. I've never seen 440A. What's it called? Shellum 3270 model, made in Australia or made for Australia. Oh, made in Japan for Australian design. Looks pretty generic, but it feels sturdy. All right, let's get this one done. We'll stick to 50 degrees for now, because that most resembles what's currently there. And will be very robust. It won't be flimsy. Nice. Nice. Already got a burr, but I'm going to keep working it because I want to work on the shape of the bevels. You notice I've got a mat. I've got four more mats. So I've got a cutting mat from there all the way across over there. I've got one under there which I haven't used yet, which I might put there. Adds a little bit of sturdiness. I still might put a plank of wood on there, some sort of maybe MDF or particle board or plywood, probably plywood, just to add a little bit of bulk, because it's not really a hammering surface yet. Not that I need to hammer. Using my engineering eye to see whether they're even or not. You can tell straight away just by looking. And that's pretty good. Yep. The Tormek just puts these beautiful bevels on. Okay. Oh, getting ahead of myself there. So I've got a good bevel, a good burr, and a good bevel. Green up. Burrs on the top. Still a few bits on there. Smooth on the back, a bit rough still on the top. And if it catches your nail, then you know there's burr on there. Burr is bad. You've got to get it off. Make sure when you're using the honing wheel you don't press down too hard, because if you press down too hard then you scrape off the compound and you're honing on the leather, which can still work, but the honing has got abrasives, so you want to let the honing compound ride on your bevel, on your apex, and do some of that rubbing work. Otherwise you're just brutalizing it with the leather without letting the abrasives do their job. Smooth except for the belly. Oh, a little bit left. All gone. It took a bit longer than expected, but now I know that there's no burr left on that edge at all whatsoever. Now, why am I not using the ridges? I could. I will. There you go. But not leave a mess, or the internet will tell me off. Oh, God forbid you leave a mess, mate. A mess is noble. Struggling a little bit, but it still cuts through. Let me just keep trying a little bit, see if we can improve that. But like I said, this level of test is not necessary for these knives. This is more for super thin kitchen knives. But it still gives you feedback. Give it a little bit more, okay, because it looks like it wants to succeed. That's good enough. And will now be much better through here. That first one wasn't brilliant. These microphones make it sound far more coarse than it is. But if it's slicing through paper, then we're good. Okay. Now, okay, you know what? I might time lapse through these, and then I'll come back slow speed for the buck and the bigger knives. All right, you happy with that? Because these all four of these are the same. There's another Excalibur. This one's Taiwan. This one is a Silver Moose. So let me just time lapse through all these, and then we'll slow down to do the last four. Okay, I'm back. They're all done. Very good. So now, let's have a look at this buck. What angle shall we do this at? Let's try 50 and see how it looks. It's got a very pronounced curve. So I've got it set a little bit down towards the heel. We'll see how that comes out. I'd rather make the angle too big than too small. If you make it too small, it starts to climb up here and you're into all sorts of trouble. So I'd rather start big. So remember, a big angle equals a small bevel. Beautiful. Show you. So this is the before, and this is with the Tormek bevel on there. See, it's not too big, not too small. Looks correct. Nice and even. Lovely jubbly. So if the whole curved knife bevel thickness width thing confuses you, let me know in the comments and I'll try and make a video, although I've addressed it in several videos, but I've got over 800 movies now, you know, who's going to go back and look at all of them? But that's why I find myself repeating the same thing over and over again, is because I don't know what you've watched. It's not like you're doing a course and I know that you've passed level 1, 2, 3, 4, and in those levels you've got all that information, and then I can build on that in level 5. I've got to presume that this is your first time watching. Welcome if you are a first timer. If you're a first timer, leave a comment below. Do you like my style? Do you understand what I'm saying? You know I'm speaking English, right? I've got a good burr. Few catches. Make sure I've got enough compound on there. Although I'm not pressing too hard, so that I'm still on top of the compound and not digging it up off the leather, as I mentioned before. Text messages. Yeah. Nice. They're very fat. I doubt whether it'll do this, but let's just see how we go. It's a bit poor. Let's see if we can improve it a little bit. Now, some of you might be thinking, come on, Baz, you should be able to slice through cigarette paper with any knife. I've seen you do it with cleavers and they're fat. Well, that's true. But from hunting knives, I don't expect them to come through here. Without some sort of a struggle. Okay, not bad, getting there. Worth persisting. Once again proving that this kangaroo tail does amazing things to the edge of a knife. Really goes in and digs out that burr, that micro burr that causes the catching on the paper. That's the only way you can tell. You can't feel it. You can only see it via evidence of how it treats this paper. It's good enough for me. Nice. Oh, so that's the Buck 119. Nice. That's done. Let's do this guy. Holy golly. Very sparkly. However, we're not intimidated by your sparkles, Mr. Knife. We will grind you to within an inch of your life. Now, okay, so how fat is this? Because what this does is this proves the value of the KJ45 centering knife jig. This is about 4.3 mil. So I've had fatter, I've had them up to 5 mil. Right, or for those of you in America, .172 of an inch. I forget how to read thou and tens, and is that 170 thou? I was away the day they did maths at school. So the good thing about the KJ45 is that it's split right down the middle, and it will spread evenly and grab evenly on a knife. Now what you don't want is to have that in really deep, because you're gripping on an angle, right? And if your knife is down deep in that angle, you're really only gripping on the points. I don't know if that makes sense. So the higher you are on the jaws, the less of an effect that has. So no to deep, yes to shallow. You do screw number 1, then you tighten screw number 2 until you get a squeak. Nice. Now that's weird because we're gripping it all the way back here, but this jig can handle any length of knife, and that will work just as well way back here. Now let's get some angles worked out. I'm going to stick to 25. And just see how it looks. Now it's in pretty good nick. So I'm going to stick to the 320, which is 1,000 grit on the wheel. I'll do this side first. Now you've got to hold a steady hand. Because Out here, it's really pulling. The friction of the wheel on the knife really wants to pull. So you've got to be careful. The reason that I just got all quiet was that even at 50 degrees or 25 per side, it started grinding very high on the knife, missed the apex by a couple of millimeters. So I just wanted to smooth it out before I brought it to the camera, because it's a nerve-wracking moment when you grind too high. But I never thought that 50 degrees would create such a high bevel. But it's coming up really nice. So I'm going to show it to you in a minute. I would have liked it to be smaller, but if I can pull this off, it's going to be super slicey. The problem with such a big bevel is getting it even and looking nice, but this is looking not bad. Not bad at all. Nearly there. Patience. And remember, it's not always beer and biscuits. This is one of those instances where this jig handle is really important because it's so wide that it is maintaining the angle without rocking. If this was very small like the original handle, you would have been rocking and carrying on, it would have been a disaster. But you're about to see the benefits of a good stable handle. It's taking a lot of focus to keep it still. So just like when I'm welding, I'm focusing. When I'm welding, I'm focusing on a little pool of metal. Move that around. No matter what I'm welding with, MIG, TIG, arc, gas, anything, it's just you and Mr. Pool. Here, I'm focusing on the wheel and the contact of the knife. And I'm letting my body just, it calculates what to do. It knows what to do. If you start focusing on how fast am I traveling and the angles of your dangles, you're going to be all over the joint. So I just focus on the way that the knife is meeting the grinding wheel. I'm trying to keep that as steady as possible. Because we're dealing with a very big bevel. And the last thing you want is ugliness. Okay, well I'm not quite finished yet, but I reckon one more grind and then I'll show you. And I have an insurance policy, so I've got like $1,000 set aside in cash in case I ruin a knife. And if I've ruined a knife, then I will I'll buy it off them at full retail or whatever replacement value it is. So let me just do one more. The reason that I can do so many passes on one side is because basically I'm rebuilding the grind. So there's a lot of work to do. The way to have avoided this would be to use a marker method and just see where it's grinding. If I had done that, I would have seen that the wheel is high on the blade. But, you want to look? So this is what was presented to me. And this is what happened. Oh, geez. It's a bit big. But it's even. and should be very sharp. So yeah, before I would have loved to have kept it that size. After, big bevel, but you know, not the ugliest thing I've ever seen. So the trick to cutting a bevel that big is to make sure you're using rough stone. So is that a mistake or not? I mean, from that distance, how does that look? Now I'm going to make it the same on this side. And what I'll do is I'll do one pass so you can see where what I saw when I went all quiet. I saw this. See, look where the grind is. It's right back here. You don't want to see that. And because it's easy to see how uneven that bevel is, that's why I've had to work it so much so that it can be even like that. So let's see if I can pull this off. Well, it's good that you're here to see this, because if you're a budding sharpener, then you better get used to making these discoveries. Not sure that I'm calling it a mistake yet, although it kind of is, because he might like it. And if I can get it to look beautiful, even though it's that big, then we got away with it. But yeah, 50 degrees still created this drama. So you can see as I'm going along, it's starting to smooth out and become better. Right, not so wobbly now. Right, but you can still see that top edge. That top is the old. The grind is that bit there that's reflecting right now. That's the new. And that top bit is the old. So now that's very grindy. A lot of marks on there. I'll smooth them out on the 320 when I get to that level. Now I'm pressing quite hard on the wheel. My fingers just released a bit of pain there. So make sure you keep it rough. It's the beauty of these diamond grading plates, I'm calling them. They're technically sharpening plates, but I'm calling them grinding plates. is that they will do a fast job of readjusting the grade on the wheel, faster than the Tormek stone, which actually won't touch this wheel. So you've got no choice. If you're going to use a black stone, you've really got to use diamond plates in order to grade it, because they're the only thing that will grade it. Getting there. You've got to go slow because there's a lot of work for the grinding wheel to do. If you move too fast, you'll get lots of facets and wobbly lines and everything. So the way to get a good, even, beautiful looking bevel is to go slow. But when you go slow, you can also go uneven, so you've got to work on your smoothness. Another reason why this jig handle works so well is because we worked on the texture and the grade of the plastic that we're using, and it glides beautifully over the stainless. Beautifully. Right, there were some that we used that when we were first doing prototypes, where it was too slippery. No good. This has got a perfect amount of friction. I'm wiping off so that I can check my bevel. Here's what I mean. If you don't go evenly, you get this effect. See that? That means that I wasn't going slow enough and I was skipping ahead before the grinding stone got a chance to complete the bevel grind. You see here? Much better. But as I'm going around the corner, you tend to go much faster around the corners. So I've got to slow that down. For example, on this side you can see much better. So it's possible. I'm just going too fast. Or it could be that the wheel wasn't rough enough. Still got a little bit. I'm now starting to burr. So I'm going to flip sides. Better. And I have a burr across the whole edge, so we got there in the end. So now I'm going to smooth the wheel off, see if we can't improve the look of that bevel. Now the problem with being smoother is that you risk doing more facets. So I'm going to have to try and take it easy. Try and be as even as possible, as slow as possible. Do one more pass. I'm pushing down quite hard in order to control the knife, because with such a big bevel the friction is enormous and it really wants to pull up on you. Nice. A little bit facety coming through here, so I'll do that side again in a minute. Pretty facety. Let's try. You know, if I can't get a smooth finish, I might have to go back to the rough and leave it rough. Not rough, it's just toothy. Give it one more go, see if I can pull it off. You can hear the wheel getting quieter as it gets smoother. And let's have a look. Oh yeah, not bad, not bad. Whew. Right. You also want to make sure it's not moving on the jig, which could be a possible. I'll show you what I mean. See that? No good. Should be even like that. See, now I don't know which one I'm doing. Am I doing the bottom one or the top one? I think I'm doing the bottom one. So which means I've got to go slower. And it might be very difficult to get an even facet on the smooth level, so I might have to go back up to the rough. It's weird how it can succeed on one side. See, this side's fine, but on this side I cannot yet. Ooh, nearly. I'm going to give it one more go. Could be also that I'm smoothing out the wheel with use. So I want to keep it fresh at 320. See if I can get that final pass even. The belt grinders are probably laughing, saying, I would have done that in 3 seconds, mate. Tormek's too slow. Could be. Okay, that's pretty good. There's a few little tiny facets down below that I didn't quite get. You can see them. Where are they? Well, you can see them there. See them skipping along just down the bottom here. There you go. That's a good view. But I'm going to call that because I've got a good burr. Oh, wow, that was a big job. So saved it. It doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty brutal. As in big brutal knife with a big brutal edge. So imagine if I'd tried to pull a 30 degrees or something like that. It would have been massive, gone halfway, probably would have been equal to this primary bevel. I can still feel a little bit of catching there. Like I said, if the owner is appalled, he may be ecstatic, we don't know. But if he's appalled, I'll instantly give him full cash value, whatever the replacement value is, and I'll buy this off him. But I've got a feeling he'll be happy. Now, obviously I won't be charging any extra for this or anything, but this comes under the category of you take the good with the bad. Some knives only take me a minute or two to sharpen. Beautiful. Wonder how sharp it's going to be. So this is the end result. That looks pretty fearsome, to be honest. It's not very easy to pull off a bevel that big, but we managed. Let's see how sharp it is. Whew. Let's see. I have no idea what to expect here. Well, I've got to be honest, I did not expect that. I did not expect that. Magnificent. This deserves its own piece of paper. Does it do tricks? Sort of. Not bad. What do you think? Oh, can't wait to hear your comments on this one. Alrighty. Let's pop that there. Let's do some normal knives. We'll do this one next. And you know what? Do you know what, Mr. Chili? You've been here all along. Yep. You happy there? You are. That's good. You know, people are buying your food. Yeah. You remember that nice food you had yesterday? Yeah, that was from these guys. Yeah. True. Good on you. All right. Let's get cracking and finish up this little sideshow. Whew, that was a lot of work. Yeah, it was. Now, we'll go back to our normal 32 for this, because it's a thin knife. Oh, exactly there. Already got a burr. Couple of more passes. Done. Beautiful burr. Still a bit catchy. A little bit more. Could be down to the leather. You need abrasion to take off a burr. You can't just rub it on leather. You might be able to just run it on leather, but abrasion makes it easier. A little bit more. This is a mundial, so probably made of X45, which is a little bit on the soft side. Good. Oh, you know what? I just spotted some incomplete areas. Not sure why my nail didn't pick that up. Have a look at this. See that? Huh. That's weird. Should be able to pick it up with my nail. It is there. Yep. I mistook it for a bit of burr, but it's actually a, well, you saw what it is. It's like a hole in the blade. I rushed through that one a bit quick, didn't I? It's all learning. Oh, we might have some issues there. Looks like a rust spot. Hmm. Got it. There's a little speck there, but it's on the bevel, and it's below the apex. Now it's climbing up closer to the apex. Now it's right up on the apex. Have a look. Let's see if we can come in close. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here. See that little black spot? That's the that's a rust pock. So it's below the apex. I reckon I'm going to leave it. A bit recalcitrant, this one. Still, the movie would be pretty boring without some sort of drama, right? So please, if you're watching this, leave a comment. And your comment will be, unless you can think of something else to say, where are you watching from? What's your city, or what your state, or what's your country? What are you watching on? Telephone, TV, iPad? What are you watching on? And what time is it that you're watching? Like, when do you have time to watch such a long knife sharpening video? And why are you watching? Why on earth are you watching this crazy old channel? What interests you about this? By the way, chili is a valid answer. We're here for the dog, Baz. Calm down, mate. Oh, come over. Well, we've got the microscope up. Might just show you that pock. Bring it right up close. Let me bring you in. Can you see it right there? Right there. So it's very close. Let me see if I can get that reflection better. There it is. That's not a stain, that's an actual hole where there was rust. But it's not quite at the apex, so it'll last another session. Let me get some paper. Beautiful. Lovely jubbly. Does it do tricks? Sure does. Hello. Tormek. Okay. One more and then we're done. Let me give this a cleaneroony. That one's there. Let's pick this one up. This one also has a bit of rusty stuff going on, but should be no problems. With these long movies, the problem is editing, and I'm not looking forward to editing. So I wonder if you would forgive me if I just uploaded it raw. That means with the camera movements, with the mistakes, with the stopping to check my text, everything, like a live session. Would you really be against me if I did that? I might do that. I'll quickly run through and make sure there's no bits that need to be taken out, but I don't think there is. So again, we're using the high-low method. That's going to be high on the wheel here, low on the wheel there, high on the wheel here. Spreads the angle variation out through the whole knife. And theoretically you won't notice. Burr coming up. Good burr. Smooth it out with some 320. If you're a Tormek user and you don't have these diamond plates off my website yet, consider going and having a look. They're more expensive than the eBay versions, but you know you're getting the right ones. The ones that I actually use. Makes a difference. And that way you can get onto the black stone, because because there really is no other way to grade a black stone smooth and rough. But with these diamond stones, or the diamond grading plates, you absolutely can turn a black stone into a normal stone, but you get the benefits of the black stone, which is it can handle all the super metals, all the super steels, without a drama. And if you're a pro sharpener and you're charging, like I said, I got 500 knives out of my last black stone, and this is my third now. So you do the mathematics on that, and you'll see that you times, let's say you're making 10 bucks per knife. I charge 20, but that's Australian dollars, which equals about 36 cents in America. No, it's about $12.80 or something, which is a very reasonable fee, I think. But let's say you're charging 10 bucks a knife. 500 times 10 bucks is what? $5,000 for a $500 wheel. Well, that's the economics in Australia anyway. So that allows you to make a small profit and an existence. So the wheels pay for themselves, the Tormek pays for itself. Highly recommend you go and have a look at my $1,000 a day video. Now I don't make $1,000 a day, but I've gotten pretty close a couple of times. But my marketing is very ordinary. I don't pay for any marketing. I just have my Google business on the Google Maps. So when people type knife sharpener near me, I'm pretty much a guaranteed hit. I have a pre-programmed message that says I'll call you back shortly. That's what I just did there, and I'll get back to them in a minute. A few little spots. If you're still with me, you're a bloody champion, mate. I want you to leave a comment saying something like, still with you, Baz. And only the diehards will hear this message and leave that comment. And then I know that you're a true believer. Yep. Okay, that's the good old Baz jig, Baz jig handle. It's not the jig, it's just the handle. Okay. That's what the website looks like. I don't know if you can see that. iSharpen.shop. The link is in the description. Go and have a look, check out the stuff. Magnificent. Look, caught it. And when you go to the iSharpen shop, you're going to see little pop-ups that come up that says oh, this person just bought that. These are 100% real, not fake. There's an opportunity in the app to make fake ones if you want. No. Every single one of those pop-ups is true. That person did buy the thing. I swear, I swear. All right, we're done. So let me just come back out here. We did all those. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 knives. Not bad. Big session though. Big session. Some of you have been asking for the long sessions. You like them. You put them on in the background while you're grinding or while you're making dinner or something like that. Now check this out. Check this out. What a dude. Lying on his concrete bed, enjoying the beautiful Australian blue sky. Lovely. So that's that. Buy a jig handle. Buy your diamond plates. It'll make your Tormek life easier. Support the channel. Support Chili. You can buy him a meal if you want, 10 bucks. And I only feed him healthy stuff. I'm not really into the snacks anymore. I don't know. I don't think they're good for him. I think that I'll buy him Prime 100. You can look it up on the internet. It's like a big tube. And it's semi-cooked. It's got some vegetables in there. He deserves it. Ooh, he's having a big stretch now. You know what? I reckon it's time for the end of this movie, but I'm also going to go for a ride later on my motorbike. Do you want to look? There she is. Magnificent. Beautiful Suzuki GSX 1100. Fully specced out, detailed, and ready for a ride. So you can see how I shoved all the stuff up here. So my next job is to build a big shelf here, big black one, big bench sort of thing, like I've done over here on the other side where I'm working. Get rid of all that stuff there. Get rid of all that stuff there. Get rid of all that stuff there, and fit shelves in each one of these bays. There's like 9 lots of shelves, and all this is going to go up onto the shelves. Get rid of that thing. Get rid of that thing. Get rid of that thing. And go full bench shelf mode. There's my lights. There's my new grinders. This is the new setup, which I'm loving, 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 loving. All right then. That's it. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next movie.